truly is Thanksgiving service. Elizabeth called me up, as usual, warned me that it wasn't going to be a serious affair. There had to be the odd giggle. Walter, I know you're looking down. You always wanted to know everything. I have to tell you that some of your ushers are poorly chosen. One of them, Stuart Turner, told me that if I spoke for more than 7 minutes, they were all going to come up here and drag me off. I secured his confidence by saying that I had cut the speech down to an hour and 10 minutes. Walter's life enjoyed so many avenues, as we've already heard, so many different endeavours. A very colourful life it was. But as Richard said, the motor industry and motorsport was one of his great successes. The Ford Motor Company will perhaps never fully appreciate what Walter Hayes did for that company. The public's change of perception of Ford in this country alone was enormous. Ford had previously really only been a blue-collar workers' motor car. With Walter's wisdom and touch and the use of motorsport, professional people suddenly were seen to be in force because it was the right vehicle to be seen in. It was classless, but it was successful. Doctors, bankers, accountants, even the clergy. Walter's vision is totally unique mastery of public relations, media relations, government relations, and people relationships broke new grounds and many budgets. Whatever Walter Hayes did, it was with style, with good taste, his manners impeccable, and his words never overstated. When something important had to be decided, he would rub his hands, pull them together, puff his pipe, and more often than not come out with just the right solution for the dilemma. It could have been middle management at Ford, it could have been senior management, it could have been Henry Ford II. But it could just as easily have been for Colin Chapman, or Jim Clark, or Graham Hill, or Keith Duckworth, or Roger Clark, or Mike Costin, or Stuart Turner even. So Jack Brabham, John Waddell, John Southgate, Henry Taylor, John Whitmore, Tom Walkinshaw, and Jochen Rindt. More often than not, it was for Jackie Stewart. And then he saved my ass a few times. But I can't imagine there is anyone here today in the world that I speak of who has not gained handsomely and richly through Walter's leadership, his counsel, and his courage of conviction. I first met Walter at the 1964 Earlscourt Motor Show. Every racing driver and rally driver in those days went to the motor show in October. That was the time when deals were done or lost. I'd had a very good year with Ken Tyrrell in Formula 3. I had driven Cortinas and F2 cars for Colin Chapman. I had driven for Ecuria College and a whole lot of other people. And there I was, standing in the Ford stand, one of the places to be. Didn't know many people. Leaning over the rail of a turntable that had a very bright white painted Ford Zodiac with enormous amounts of chrome, white wall tyres and hideous red leather upholstery. It was spinning around there feeling very lonely in bad taste. A man of average height came up and stood next to me. And he said that he knew who I was, but it didn't really matter who he was. But he said his name was Wally Hayes, and I didn't know. He then said, would I like to have a Ford contract for the next season? I thought, hello. Would I also like the extremely elegant Ford Zodiac with the beautiful tyres and the impeccable upholstery at no cost? Would I also like to have a cheque to drive for a whole season in any car that he chose for the vast sum of £500? And he got me. He was rubbing his hands, pulling them together and puffing his pipe, and he was closing in on me. And I started to look around because I thought maybe I was being done on camera. But there was nobody around. And then the closer he got, I thought, am I safe? But then that was before it was fashion. Walter Hayes and Jackie Stewart shook hands that day. That was the contract. As long as Walter Hayes was at Ford doing what he did, so was Jackie Stewart and the new Ford. I totally trusted him, and I believed in him all the way. 37 years later, I'm still with Ford, all because of Walter Hayes. He's got a lot to answer for. Walter was one of the major contributors, as Richard says, in building the foundations of what is today called British sport, the British motorsport industry. Now, it took a few pioneers to show the way. People like Tony Vanderbilt, or Raymond Mays, or Sir Alfie Dolan, or Sir William Lyons. Then came along folks like John Cooper and Colin Chapman, Eric Broadley, and of course, companies like Coffee Climate. But then Walter Hayes convinced the company to invest not a very large amount of money in a Formula One Cosworth engine. It was to change the world. It was then that the great British success story really began. Formula One became accessible. Most any team owner could buy an engine that could win a Grand Prix and win a World Championship. Ken Tyrrell, Sir Frank Williams, Ron Dennis, and many more could not have done what Britain today should be so enormously proud of without the touch of Walter Hayes. I can almost smell the tobacco, that pipe tobacco. I can almost hear the rubbing of the hands, and I'm sure that I can hear a very large chorus of thank you, Walters, flying around. This, Elizabeth, is truly a Thanksgiving service. For many of us, it's a lovely opportunity to have the kind of memories that you've been able to provide. Elizabeth and Harriet, Richard and Jeremy have created this wonderful service in all the way that it usually is for us all to be thankful in this house of God for the blessing of being able to share a wee part of a man called Walter Hayes in his remarkable life. Walter's funeral was fantastic. And today's service is again carried out with style, with the integrity and the dignity that witty Walter would certainly have been very, very proud of.